Dean, 500th game. It's a pretty big milestone, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Obviously, it's kind of a bit of a surprise. Last couple of weeks, people have been saying it's getting close and stuff, but it kind of makes you look back and kind of realise how long you've been playing.
Like I said it's a lot of games, and considering your age as well, not many players can say before their 30s that they've made 500 games.
No, I've been obviously very lucky that got put into the team at a relatively young age, and since then I've been really lucky with injuries and obviously been lucky that managers quite like me as well, which obviously helps. So it's quite a good achievement, especially as you said before I turned 30.
You touched on it. You're not the type of person that counts your games and checks milestones. So, like you said, how did you come across this one? Who moved to you first?
I think someone in the programme said to me something about it. Said I was getting close to a number or something like that. But it's as you said, it's just another game. It's obviously nice when they come around, but it's not something you set out to achieve or kind of particularly look out for. So it is, it's nice when it comes along, but it's not something you deliberately try and tend to do.
I'll put you on the spot a bit. First of all, best game since you've been here?
One of my favourite, my favourite game was probably Stockport away. They were going for the playoffs and we were trying to win promotion, and I think they took the lead and we equalised in about 15 seconds, and that happened again for the second time, and then Keith ran through for the third goal and chipped the goalkeeper, and it was kind of the first time we really had kind of any success, for the first time that we achieved anything, and the game was so dramatic in the way the scoring went, and because it meant so much. It was the first step in sort of creating obviously the Wembley and everything else that came on afterwards. The Stockport game was one. There's a group of players that you look back on, and I think I remember they were the most happiest times, really.
And then your worst? Have you got a worst? Is there one that?
I was saying earlier, there is a lot to choose from. To be fair, there's the early years was. You could pick any game in the early years. I think, as I said before, there was a Hartlepool 5-0 away, where it was just dismal, really, and we was down the bottom, we were struggling, and you lost 5-0, and you just really couldn't see where or how it could get better, really, and that was a particularly low point. And then since then, there's obviously the playoff defeats have obviously been bad games, and as well as you've done in the season, it's still a failure at the end of the day. And when you give everything you have all year and you lose over the two games, I think obviously the Peterborough and Highsville game were both heartbreaking, really. After the game in the change rooms, they're probably the hardest it's been, I think.
Best goal? There's not 500 to choose from, but
best goal seen or best goal that
You scored.
Best goal I scored was probably my Bradford goal. I'd have thought. I scored a good one against Lewington a couple of years ago, but the Bradford goal was I think it was my best. Yeah.
And without upsetting anybody, your best teammates, best players that you've seen play here that you've looked across, and whether it's talent wise or just in terms of training or personality.
Probably the obvious ones, really. I think for me as a left back, the best that I played with was Keith, really. He was one of them players that would he'd head it out in his 6-yard box, and then he'd be in their 6-yard box scoring a goal. He really was a box-to-box player, and that season he scored a lot of goals, and he really drove the team on. His energy was fantastic, and from a left back point of view, Danny Swales was an excellent player alongside. I think everyone forgets how good Swales was. Really, he was such a big part of that team that obviously his injuries really hampered him. He kind of got lost in the next couple of years, but he was a massive part. And also from that team, Lloyd Dyer directly in front of me was an absolute dream to play with. I think everyone was so scared of Lloydie's pace that I think their right wing was actually marking Lloydie rather than trying to attack me. So it made for a very easy season. So I think those three players, obviously Keith being a standout player, but I think those two alongside me were players where you used to look around and think that he was in safe hands.
And difficult question, but if, over the 500 games, anything you would have done differently?
Probably loads and nothing really. It's one of those questions where hindsight's a fabulous thing, and looking back, you might approach things in a different way or in a different manner, but at the time you thought you was doing it for the right reasons, and so on the balance, I think it's probably no.
And then looking forward, I'd imagine. So you just mentioned that you're not wanting to look at milestones, but I imagine you got plenty of time left. You want to keep adding to that totals and hopefully add a promotion to the championship on top of that.
Yeah, obviously the numbers is nice, but it's what you do with those numbers really. It's I just don't want it to be like a meaningless career of just lots and lots of games for no reason. Obviously the aim now is to try and get into the championship, and that's all my focus is for really. Is got a lot of young players coming through, a lot of developing players, and hopefully the gaffer this summer will look to reinforce the squad with a little bit more quality, and hopefully we can have a real good go at it next year.